because, we all have issues, triggers, things that are going to upset us, bother us, navigate, control our emotions until we work through them and get grounded enough to put focus on the fact that they are, ruling our thoughts. And every time I believe I hit a certain milestone with my healing, I just go another layer deeper. It's like I feel good. I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I end up going like another layer deeper. And I'm like, okay, this shit it's intense. And when you really change and you're working on change, the hardest part for me right now is dealing with other people who are not going through the same things that you are. Could be family, friends, coworkers, could be somebody in the grocery store line, like whomever. And so until we all awaken and align to our own personal purpose, it's going to be challenging. And I had an exchange with someone recently that was so frustrating because they kept um, insinuating the purpose behind the actions that were taken, not on their end. And that old saying, when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. That's really what it is. Because I was like reading some of their messages and I'm like, no, 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 that's not it at all. That has nothing to do with it. But when someone isn't taking accountability or culpability, if someone instantly accuses you of being the problem, all these things that were coming up, I was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Those are super red flags. Also, I know a lot of terminology has been thrown around in recent years because once things get a label, then someone identifies it, and then other people can identify that energy or that action, same thing basically, with a label, which is helpful because it's really all it is. It's just to be able to recognize what that is. You know how you have those people in your life that you just have that conversation where you just, I had a friend once that we used to be able to talk, and other people would be like kind of freaked out by it because we'd all be at something, and like somebody would walk in, and my friend and I would look at each other, and we would just, and then the one would be like, I know, and then I'd be like, dude, I know, whatever. And and people would be like, how do you guys know what you're saying? And I'm like, it's just years of knowing somebody. It's just, and also being on the same page of consciousness, really. We had our own individual consciousness, of course, but we also, that's why we were friends, because we kind of saw the fakery and the fuckery and the bullshit or whatever. So, and we had a hard time not speaking of it when it was put before us. So basically, I'm trying to do this video without ego or any of that as well. But at the same time, it's frustrating because when people assume or insinuate a behavior of yours and they are aligning it with a thought process of theirs, it's like it makes you realize that people really do look at everything from their own vantage point, from their own view, from where they are, level of consciousness, whatever. They're looking at it from their own perspective. So in this situation, I'm not going to tell you all the details of the people because it doesn't matter. But it was this person had this outlook of a project that was going to be done. The other person had an outlook of the way the project was done because that person said, hey, do this, that, and the other, blah, 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 this can wait, whatever. And I started to notice that like true narcissists, so this is the label I was going to throw around. So this person that I'm dealing with it's really interesting too, because before this happened, I received a message in the form of an article. It came out of nowhere, wasn't even looking for it. And I don't tend to like, look at a magazine article and be like, that's fact, you know what I mean? But if it resonates, or if it, I'm like, wow, that's interesting. So it said 15 signs you're dealing with a narcissist. And it was really wild because this person was all 15 things. They literally do all 15 things. And I was like, wow. And I remember, at one point when I had said to my partner, Spirit keeps putting these tests and these challenges before us. And some people, it's almost like the people who trigger you the most are the people who are actually there to teach you. We're all here to teach each other, but that person is there to teach you something. And maybe that lesson is knowing yourself. And basically, after I went through the sea of emotions of the messages, because it was like whiplash. And the weird thing is I didn't really understand what was happening until after I read the article. And then I went back and looked at it again, and I was like, wow, that's so weird. They were using this tactic, and then using this tactic, and then this tactic, and this tactic. And it was like playing tennis, but in the most messed up way, because that's the fire, by the way, the wood stove. Because I was like, that's very interesting. Their perspective and their view on things. But then it was like, the more kind and open that I was trying to be, the more like poking the bear, the more they kept just trying. And I was like taking deep breaths, where you're just like, okay. And I remember one thing that my mom said one time, and she said, I don't like texting because there's no, and there's, you can't hear or see how the person is feeling, And so she said, when the person is writing the message, they're writing it from their energy, from their emotional standpoint. So if they're in a good mood, they're writing it, blah, 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 blah. If they're not in a good mood, they're writing it, energy is energy. So what you're putting into it and what you're sending to another person. So someone like myself, who's a super sensitive, and I know, and a telepathic medium, having the empathic, telepathic, and all those gifts, they're a gift, yes, but then it's really struggle. It can be burdensome sometimes because, I take the high road, take the high road, take the high road, take the high road, until I get to a point where I'm like, that's just not true. That's just not true. So and then once I was trying to take the high road, and I was like, are they getting irritated by the high road? And so it was interesting because I went back and I looked at the messages again, and I said, okay, I'm going to look at these messages from a happy standpoint, and I'm going to look at these messages from somebody who is a narcissistic, controlling, whatever. Mind you, I've been those things. That's how I can recognize it. I can still be that way sometimes, right? That's how we recognize it. We recognize ourselves in someone else. It's the mirror effect. So I went back and I read them. And then I said to my partner, I go, it's interesting how if they were in a bad mood, they could take it this way. And I said, and it doesn't matter whether they know my heart is good and that I'm like that, whatever. They also know my shadow. So I was like, I felt like it didn't matter how positive I was trying to be or whatever we were trying to put through. Because I'll be honest, I mean, of course I had some underlying like, what the fuck, I call it the what the fuck wrinkle, right? Sometimes I meet people with a really deep wrinkle here and I'm like, oh, you're very wise. They're like, how do you know that? I'm like, because you have the what the fuck wrinkle. Because it's like the, like, that doesn't seem right. Which, by the way, in real time, happy birthday, Aquarius. We just went into Aquarius season. Blessed be. Thank you, Capricorn, for the earth and grounding energy. But now we are in air, the water bringers. So it's like an air-water mixture. It's very interesting. It could be very spicy. Aquarian's amazing. I actually put together cute little shorts for my other channel, The Magical Medium, for Aquarius. And actually was drawn to an Ed Sheeran song. I looked up all these different Aquarians, male and female, and I was like, Etta James, Alicia Keys. I was going through certain people that I really love, and then all of a sudden I had seen Ed Sheeran's name, and I was really called to put it. But the song goes perfectly with the video I made. I love it, so you'll have to check it out. But blessed be, use this Aquarian energy whenever you watch this. It's always timeless, but use this energy to try and sync up to your, your eccentric, your weirdo, your, person who doesn't take shit. And because it was interesting that I stayed as calm as I possibly could. And then I finally was like, you know what? Enough is enough. Like, I'm pushing back, blah, blah, blah. Then they came back with this, like, well, I didn't mean blah, blah, blah. And it's like, so there's a lot of games being played right now because people, those who cannot, especially people who are stuck in the ego and the narcissistic, fucking tornado of self, and that nothing else matters, and nothing else matters, Metallica, right? And they're the abyss of darkness. All you can do is send them love. That's all you can do, and dodge the bullets as gracefully as you can, because 2024 is going to be one of those years where really magical, awesome things happen, but people who are dealing with their shit are going to get their comeuppance in a way that they've never experienced before, which is going to make them even worse. And every single one of us has got to hit rock bottom before we can soar, right? We must hit to the ground and burn so that we can be the fire, the phoenix rising from the fire, from the ashes. That's part of it. And I have been there. I've been to the darkest dreads. I remember when I was working with one of my shamans, and she literally, like, walked away from me, like physically, emotionally, like everything. She just, like, walked away from me. She's like, I can't deal with you. She's like, she's like, I've created a monster. I walked with her for like 2 years. And it's like, it's like when it started, I was super humble and whatever. But then after a few years, when I looked, it was 1133. So if you've been seeing 1133, this is for you. Also, research that angel number, because it's also the number 8, and this is an 8-year. 2024 is an 8-year, and it's all about infinity and limitless possibilities. But my ego had gotten so out of control with my gifts. I was very narcissistic. Like I was raised by narcissists. Oh my gosh, I said that. I don't want to fuck this up. I said that, but look at this. I don't know if you can see. But we've got 2 blue jays there's one right there. 2 that came in, a male and a female. And it's really interesting because when my dad died, I kept seeing blue jays. And then they just flew away. I kind of feel like I want this to go this way. And then, I don't know, for years now, my father's been gone almost 10 years. So for years now, I would see blue jays, and I'm like, that's my dad, that's my dad, that's my dad. Moths and blue jays were the 2 main things that came to me when my dad died. And it didn't occur to me until today when I was watching them eat the seed we put out, that blue jay, my dad was Billy J. I don't know how I never put that together, but anyway, so look up blue jay spirit medicine, the fact that they both came in, divine feminine, divine masculine. So yeah, it's like the balance. When the balance is off, just like this video, like when the balance is off, we feel off. And so dealing with people who are going through something so heavy and so dark, if you have gone through the dark night of the soul or really, really gone to the base of your shadow, you understand what that means to rise above that and change and challenge yourself to come from love, and challenge yourself to not ignore the situation, not let people step all over you or press your boundaries, but fear is what a lot of people are dealing with right now. And when people are in fear, they get into fight or flight mode. And so that's what I've been noticing. And I just think 2024 is going to be a fantastic, magical, abundant year for a lot of people who have been putting in the work and putting in the time. But it's also, like I said, it's going to be a really rough year for those who will not, or who are not, not saying they will not, I don't want to speak for them, who aren't currently or haven't yet stepped into that. And it's interesting because, doing what I do, I work with so many people all the time, and I do my best to keep my composure and not get too emotionally attached to things or people or places anymore the way I used to. So watching other people go through what I went through is it's not as gratifying as you think it'll be, right? Like, because you're like, oh, I remember when I was like that. It's like, no, because I remember when I was like that, right? That arrogant, oh, I remember when I was like that. No, I feel bad that they're going through that, because I know why they're going through that. I understand why they're going through that. but I have watched them like abuse and hurt and manipulate and coerce and do like some really awful, horrible things. And I love them anyway. I love them anyway because I know at their core, they're a beautiful soul. They're just in a lot of pain. And everybody handles pain differently. And when people are feeling unloved, have feeling like they don't have attention, you know, especially if you go from a situation where, you know, you have your life one way and then it is completely changed in a second, you know, because of a death. We've all been there. We've all been there. If you're watching this, you're an adult. You have watched, maybe not watched, but you have experienced the death of either an animal, you know, human situation, relationship. Death is all about rebirth. So right now, I'm doing my best to hold space while they're going through this inversion and this death and rebirth process. But I felt like I really needed to come on here and speak to you guys about it because having love, compassion, and patience is going to be your best friend this year. And when it gets tough, it's okay. You walk away. You walk away. When you cry, when you need to cry it out, you cry it out. You do what you have to do for yourself, but you do not have to hurt another person just because they're hurting you. An eye for an eye. Let karma do her job. You know, as they say, she never forgets. So, you know, I saw something recently from Christina Lopes, I believe it was, and she said that she believed that how we correct karma, so to speak, because karma, there's good karma and you know, there's shadow and light in karma, right? So she spoke of that every time you put love and compassion into the world, when you could put anger, disdain, you know, whatever that's in the shadow energy, that's collecting karma. So she kind of spoke like, you know, it's not a tick board. Like, let's put it this way. When I was younger, I stole a lot. I'm not proud of it, but for a long time, for many, many, many moons, I stole, I manipulated, I coerced. I mean, I controlled a lot of things, some to protect myself, some to get what I want. And I learned at an early age, and I just assumed it was my looks, my charisma, you know, but what I started to realize as I got older was it was an actual gift and that I had learned it from the best, like on both sides of my family. You know, my dad's family, my mom's family, I learned from the best. I really did. I learned how to be narcissistic. I learned how to be a certain way. And I also remember being told by family members that I was a narcissist and all that. And now, like, knowing what I know, it makes me laugh because I'm like, well, it takes one to know one. So if you're calling me one, I'm just saying, you know. So it's just very interesting. And I wouldn't change my experiences for anything. And I feel like spirit has been really, really, it's like, I feel like I spent a lot of years working through my shadow, but like my divine feminine kind of got squashed down. The ravens and the blue jays say hello. All the corvids are coming out today. Yay. So look up spirit medicine. And in the last few years, I've been like heavily working with the divine masculine and then, you know, pulling out what I've learned from the divine feminine to help align the energy because you know, we were just off balance for so long where the masculine was like just over here and the feminine was here. And it was just like, you know, rape and, you know, just all horrible things that had happened to the divine feminine energy. And now the divine feminine is like, and I want to kill you to the guys. And it's just like, you know, divine masculine, it's like, no, I mean, you know, it's like, it can't be an eye for an eye. If anything, it's like, you know, the divine masculine and divine feminine to me are just energy, but it's the divine wisdom. It's the divine consciousness, it's the Christ consciousness, it's the love consciousness I'll have to find it and read it to you guys, but there's a really beautiful letter that Albert Einstein wrote to his daughter that he asked that it not be released for years after his death. Hopefully, when the world was becoming a little more sensitive and a little more divine feminine driven, he didn't say that, but basically, he was just saying like that love was, he's like, and he goes, I was famous for E equals MC squared. He's like, but he's like the one thing the scientists never want to talk about or, want to acknowledge is that love is the most limitless energy there is. And, recently when I was going through this with this person, I said to my husband, I'm like, I can only love so much. I'm like beyond the Southside Chicago Kelly. I go, I literally can only love so much. I go until I'm just like, I'm out. Like, fuck you. Like, I'm done. Like, you don't, that is not what happened. Stop making things like I was getting really upset because it's not what happened. And it's not, and they were insinuating things and I was getting really fired up because I was like, it's not the truth, but it's their truth. And that's what I had to really rectify and sit down with. It doesn't fucking matter if I believe he's wrong. He believes he's right, right? Like I believe I'm right. They believe they're right. So it doesn't matter. In the end, we're both right because they see it from their perspective and I see it from my perspective. And that is the way it is. And we hit an impasse. So even if you're right to yourself, remember that person, even because here's the deal, even if they know they're wrong, because narcissism is very real. And, one of the hardest parts about it is that there's apologies, like they cannot admit that they're wrong or they cannot see their own fault. But when I was reading, like the banter, not banter, but the communication back and forth, I was like, it's just interesting because if you read it all together and you take your emotion out of it, it's like you can see two people who are believing in what they're saying. Who's right? Who's wrong? And all the emotional buttons that were being pushed on me were old shit. Were family stuff. A lot of that stuff was family stuff. So even though it's been a struggle and even though it's been difficult, I'm really grateful for it because it's just making me stronger. It's making me stronger all the time. And it's also helping me to push back and set my boundaries and say, listen, that is not allowed. You cannot speak to me like that. Or you can, but I'm not going to respond to you, or I'm not going to engage in a conversation like this because you believe you are entitled to speak to me this way, and then it's just interesting to me how narcissists can be, how that narcissist energy can be, because then all of a sudden, because the sad thing is when you think about it, the very base of narcissism is sadness. It's inferiority complex. It's I feel inadequate. I don't feel loved. I don't feel accepted. Because when someone's like putting all these beautiful things on you and then you feel really good and then they come back later and then they like tear it all down and then you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. And then they do it again and again. It's like, these are behaviors and you do not have to stay in that. It's not healthy. And that was basically my thing was I was just like, oh my gosh. So I wanted to do this video because I felt like if no one ever watches it, at least someday I can go back and watch it, to remind myself, or maybe hopefully be at a place where I'm like, oh, I remember when I was, because it's one thing I remember when I was like that, or being like, I remember I was like that, right? Because that's ego. It's like, because that's saying like, I think I'm better than, I think I'm superior. You know what's really interesting? I swear to you on all that is holy, I did not even put this together until this very second. But I just did a pick a reading on the magical medium. I'll put a link below in the description box and in the comments. But I've been through so much the last few years, and a lot of you know that we've been going through so much to get in this house and all that. But my spirit work has been highly neglected, mostly because I had no idea how much work this place was going to take in the winter. Honestly, I thought we were just going to be sitting pretty, like I knew that we needed to have wood for the fire and we needed to have propane. And like, I knew all that because it's off grid, right? Like I knew that. However, um, I really, we were really blessed because it was in like the 40s and the 50s for a super long time. And then we got hit with this. Hold on. I just realized my phone might be going out soon. Okay. I got like a few more minutes, but, I noticed that when it got, oh, look at that. See, I noticed that when it got cold, I'm going to put this on the charger. Um, I noticed that when it got cold, I'll just hold it for a minute, that it was really hard to keep these very high ceilings warm because we have a lot of windows as well up on top. And so it's just been harder than I thought. And I don't mean to sound like a whiny baby. It's just winter in my existence. You can tell, like, I haven't brushed my hair in no days. Um, but winter usually for me is a time for me to just like kind of take it easy. And I have not been able to do that because this is my second winter living off the grid. And it's super hard to do that when you have so many daily chores just to stay afloat and stay alive. It's a challenge for sure. So that's why I haven't done as much spirit work as I would like. However, I know that it's coming because I can feel it. So I just did this picker reading that was linked to the last Tallulah talk and reading in a cabin life update. At the end, we read these questions, and Spirit had me do the pick a reading on the questions, which was really cool. And then in one of the readings, we were pulled to even have further questions, which I put in the comments, like, what is my purpose? Like manifestation stuff, things like that. But anyway, if any of this is connecting with you as well, if you're going through something like this, or if you are an empath, if you have empath narcissist relationships, because just because someone's a narcissist doesn't mean they're a horrible person. It just means that they have some things they really need to work on, and they have a lot of healing to do. So I find that in humanity, people tend to want to make someone the villain and the hero. And every single one of us play both every day. You could be having the best day. This is my favorite analogy because it's true. You could be having the best day of your life, having a blast, driving in your car, having a good day, everything's great. And somebody's trying to get across a lane and everybody else is helping them. You don't see them. You're listening to music. You're in your own world. You're just like having a good time. And you almost hit them. You terrify them to the point where they're like, and they have to slam on the brakes. And you just keep going. You don't even notice. We've all had one instance in our lives, in our car, at, talking with friends, anytime, where we do something that we don't realize that we hurt someone else, or we gave someone a misadventure that they didn't know they were going to have. You're the villain that day to them, right? But also, you're in the grocery store, you see somebody, they look really despondent, they look really sad, something pulls you over there, and you're like, hey, are you okay? And they just open up to you and tell you that they were going to eat their favorite meal, drink their favorite bottle of wine, and then kill themselves that day. But because you took that time to acknowledge that they existed, because you took that time to say, I love you. I don't know you, but I love you. Because you did that. You saved a life that day, and you were a hero. We all are here learning. None of us are getting out of here alive, and all of us are here at our own conjecture. It's like of our own conjecture, I guess. Is that the word I'm looking for? But you hear what I'm saying. We all play a part. So I'm learning a lot, and we really need to support the divine masculine right now because they're going through a really rough time. They're watching their empire crumble, and that's really difficult when it's been a certain way for thousands of years. It's going to take a minute. So have compassion, have love, and let go. If you need to scream or shout, go away and scream and shout. Also, when you're messaging somebody, smile. They can feel it. You know, some of you know that, like, if I send you a message or when I post things, sometimes I'll say, hello, dearest, or hello, my love, you know, or something like that. That's because I want people to feel important, because I know what it's like not to feel important. Sorry, I'm just in a weird position. Oops. I didn't mean to do that. Oh, I didn't even know my phone could do that. Oh, that's cool. Now I don't have to turn my phone around. Okay, cool. Maybe we'll end it with this. So, with that being said, we're all important, right? Look at that little bird. We're all important. Oh, hi, sweetie. We all play a part, even these birds, right? And you know, we put this out there because it was freezing. It was 15 degrees and ice. So we put out this feed for the birds because we're like, oh my gosh, you know, they need some food. They need to eat. It was so cold. It was so horrible for days. And we would give them a little bit of food here and there. But the funny thing is we got that from a free pile, that seed. We got it from a free pile. Oh, look at do you see the chipmunk down there? Oh, now the chipmunk wants to come out too. Oh, you guys, look at that. They're blessing us. And Alder said, oh my gosh, I forgot about that seed. It was like so perfect. And we have it all over the property. So they have different places they can go. And but we've been helping feed them. And it's been really great, especially this little squirrel, because I don't know if they're the runt or a baby, but they're kind of small. And we have only ever seen them by themselves. So we were happy that we can help them. You know what I mean? You just don't know. And we're all here to love each other and help each other. And I'm just going to keep loving back. I'm just going to keep pushing back and loving back as hard as I can. And I suggest that you do the same. Because the anger and all that, if they're pressing your buttons, it's something inside of you that you still need to heal. And that's basically what I realized, was that if I could be angry at this person, but I'm really just angry at myself and frustrated with myself. So anyway, we love you so much, me and Spirit, and the birdies, and the little chipmunk or squirrel. And you can look up squirrel medicine too, bird medicine. Those are little chickadees. And I saw a robin too. Anyway, I hope this helped anybody in any way. And until next time, take really good care of yourselves and each other. I love you so much. And check out that reading, because it was all about the ego. It was all about the ego. We used I don't know how many decks. It was really cool. But there's a picture at the front of it that you can look at to choose from there, or you can choose from the questions. Maybe you just want to read one, or there's 5 questions, 5 readings, and maybe there was just one, or maybe you're interested in all of them. I mean, basically they're all going to educate you. You know what I mean? Like, they were all in education, even though, I'm doing the readings for other people. I learn and benefit from the knowledge as well. So same for you. All right, you guys, I'll see you next time. I love you. Bye.